Okay, the final video that I'm going to do, and I'm going to set you some little challenges on all the topics, but we've finally got to the last one, which is stress and stress management to optimize performance. The definition of stress, the trigger that can cause increased arousal or anxiety. Now, stress is caused the release of hormones in the body. In short term, adrenaline is released, which increases heart rate, raises blood pressure, and gives extra energy that is beneficial. Stress that is long term, is too intense, can increase the risk of health problems and can have a negative effect on performance. So we've got to make sure that short term stress is fine, and we can use that to our benefit, but long term stress can have problems on health. So stress in sport is more often linked to negative feelings and can be seen as a psychological state produced by and perceived by physiological and psychological forces acting on our senses of well-being. Now, there are some causes of stress. The first one we can look at is competition, especially if the outcome is important. Now, this is quite a powerful stressor, is competition, so think about the type of stress before competition and how you feel about that. We can have conflict, which may be with your coach or a teammate or your opposition. We can look at frustration, a feeling that a performer is prevented from reaching their goal. So again, you can maybe link that back to aggression. So you might get stressed out by your poor form or your team's poor form. Then meeting a challenge which the performer cannot cope with, for example taking a penalty or saving a penalty in football. You're thinking you can't meet this challenge, to a goalkeeper here, not a very good picture, but could be stressed thinking they're not going to be able to save this penalty, which causes stress. You get that in exams as well, sort of the challenge of the exam. You're going to get stressed out thinking that you're not going to be able to cope with the task ahead of you. I'm also going to chuck in one more, which is climate. So if you get excessively hot or excessively cold, you can also get stressed. So they're the 4 types, plus climate. Have a look, make sure you're happy with it before we crack on. Okay, we're looking at ways of dealing with stress. Now, I need you to understand that there are 2 types of stress, and this one is focusing on cognitive stress. My next slide is going to be on somatic stress. You should know what they are by now. So these are some of the techniques that you might want to use to reduce cognitive stress. So we're going to look at mindfulness, goal setting, imagery, mental rehearsal, rational thinking, negative thought stopping, and positive thinking and self-talk. So we'll just take one by one. So mindfulness is just focusing on the present rather than thinking about the next day or the next event or the next match, and ignoring unwanted thoughts. So football managers use this quite a lot. They'll say we'll just take one game at a time. Can lead to the peak flow experience, the zone of optimal functioning. So we're just making sure we're staying within the moment. Goal setting, we've already looked at goal setting and SMART targets. Okay, a focus for achievement, the target that individual is trying to achieve. So that will reduce stress. Make sure your goals are clearly defined. We've talked about them before, but it does help reduce stress. Imagery can be 2 parts. You can have it internally, seeing yourself within, and externally, looking at yourself from the outside. So picturing yourself doing a skill successfully. High jumpers do this all the time. Internal imagery is more effective than external imagery. To be effective, you must practice imagery. You can't just turn up and do it. So if you are training, imagery is really important. Mental rehearsal, picturing going through the physical skills in your mind, creating a mental image of the skill before performing it, which is also a way of reducing your stress. For a novice, it might help improve confidence and control arousal levels, and research has shown that it can create optimism in performance. Rational thinking, focusing about small parts of your sport will help you reduce stress. So, for example, for shot put, if you just focus on your stance, the good chance that that's going to reduce your stress would help you to perform better. Again, taking a football example, you might want to just think, I'm just going to think about my defending today, and that'll help you reduce the stress. Negative thought stopping, substituting any unhelpful thoughts with positive thoughts. Again, quite a simple one. Individuals prone to learned helplessness may find stopping negative thoughts difficult. So how can we substitute that for the negative in trying to get positive thoughts in there? And then positive self-thinking and self-talk, believing in your ability and talking to yourself to focus your attention on the task. Again, it is only of value if the performers are experienced and of a high standard. It's very hard for a novice or a cognitive learner to do that. Right, they are ways of coping with cognitive stress. Now we're looking at somatic stress management. So somatic methods of managing stress relate to performers' physical processes. All right. So we're going to look at progressive muscular relaxation. So this is looking at all the main muscle groups are tensed and then gradually released in turn. So if you think you really contract a muscle, then release it. That's going to help you relax your muscles. And it's developed by someone called Jacobson in 1932. And it's sometimes called the Jacobson technique. Athletes have to learn to be aware of their tension in their muscles and let it go. Gradually, muscle groups should be combined until the whole body can be relaxed in one command. So an evaluation of that takes longer to learn than self-directed relaxation, but is thought to be more effective. So it's about contracting your muscles and then releasing them. So biofeedback is using electrical instruments to measure the body's physiological changes as arousal, anxiety increase. By monitoring these physiological changes, the performer control the effects and enter a calmer state. The performers are taught to control muscular tension by relaxing by any chosen method by specific muscles showing tension on the machine. So the machine will pick out where the stress is, and then you can work out how to relieve the stress in that area. The degree of tension is noted by the machine and a sound is made. By linking the feeling with the noise, the performer eventually can identify the tension without assistance. So the machine provides objective biological feedback about muscle activity, skin temperature, heart rate, which informs about the performer's success in relieving that tension. So it's more of a machine that does that for you. Then we're looking at a centering approach. Now this combines somatic and cognitive responses, similar to mindfulness in that you focus on the here and the now. Concentration is shifted to the centre of the body. The mind recognises that the body is responding to a stressful event. Through centering, the athlete will redirect the energy to the centre of the body and then achieve a calm, steady state. Skills need to be mastered. Focus on breathing. It requires regular practice so it can be used automatically. So drawing the focus to the core of the body in a bid to reduce your anxiety and stress. And then finally, we're looking at breathing control. Slow, deep breaths ensure you can get enough oxygen and feel more relaxed in control. Focusing the breathing can help take your mind off things. If you look at the new Apple Watch, they actually have a breathing app on there to try and reduce the stress. It can be helpful as a part of your routine. For example, between serves in tennis, you might have a deep breath before you go out and hit that ball. So consciously controlling the rate and the depth of breathing as a way of reducing muscular tension and the somatic effects of stress and anxiety. Make sure you've made a note of that because that is all about somatic reasons for stress.